Today on Dirt Road Cred, we're going to compare the original to our 2025 Jeep Wrangler Willys 41 build. Let's check them out and show all the differences. We've got one sitting right next to it, and there are a lot of cool differences and some similarities that we were able to do. So a cool thing for us having this next to our 2025 build is we actually had to search around to find something like this to compare it to. Not only that, to be able to sit on a nice day and be able to check out how they look. So Matt, he is local to the area. This is in Hershey. He's got a good name. It's the same as mine. And what he does is he has this vehicle. He used it for his personal wedding, but then he also rents it out to weddings, events, to be able to check it out and take some photos with it and do some cool things. Use it almost like a nice prop in the backdrop. But this is a 1945 Willys MB, and the cool thing with this is it's still the same as a 41. There's a couple different differences. Obviously the 41, like he said, had this fabricated grille and had some other little changes to it. But in the grand scheme of things, this is what we were trying to replicate. Just the stark contrast of seeing them side by side is absolutely incredible, just how big the 2025 is. And he couldn't even believe that's still stock suspension on that Jeep. So just the sheer size of this right away. So a lot of people were wondering where we got that front light and what it is. This is actually the blackout light from an original Willys MB that we bought off of eBay and put on ours. We had to custom fabricate a bracket because typically these would be mounted on the fender flares. You've got much more of a fender on the original Jeep than what we have, but it's the exact same thing. He actually did say he swapped out the entire wiring system to a 12 volt instead of a 6 volt. So you can see there's one wire coming out of this. It's like a cloth wire, and that's what powers this. And then there's a ground that actually just goes to the tub because the whole tub is grounded on this. Another interesting bit right away on the front, this bumper is actually the exact same size as this bumper width-wise. This is 46 and ours is 46. And you can see this bumper goes to about the center tread of the tire. This doesn't even hit the tire at all. Now, I'd be curious to see if we put a factory wheel on here, what that looked like. But just going off of this, you can see how much more wide this Jeep is compared to the original one. And I'm gonna let this have an argument in the comments because I really want to see who knows their Jeep stuff. Why did the original one have 9 slots and then this one gets 7 slots? I'm not gonna tell you because I do know why, but you guys let me know down below in the comments why. 5-inch headlights on here, some blackout or some cat's eyes in the front. But look at all the space in between this front bumper, Ryan. They didn't have winches on here. The original ones would have had almost like a hand crank winch. It would actually wrap around and there was a big rope area where you could put it on. We did decide to put a winch on ours just for time's sake because we want to actually be able to use it. But really interesting up at the front, all 4 corners of this are leaf sprung too. Coil springs to leaf springs. What's really interesting is I've rebuilt a couple M416 vehicles, or the trailers, and if you look under here, these shocks are actually the same as the M416. The front axles on here, these are an AMC 20, I believe, or these are it's a 20 up front, right? Yeah, Dana 20, and then in the rear is a 30. Yeah, so Dana 20 up front, 30 in the rear. Now we've got a 30 up front and a 35 in the rear of this one. But look at the steering, Ryan, too. This is also really interesting. Check out the way this pivots in here. So it's got like dual arms on this. I haven't never been this up close to one to be able to check it out like that. It's got twin arms that go to each side, and then the pitman arm is almost fixed on the center of the axle and then just goes right to the steering shaft. Really, really interesting here. If we look at the wheels, that's one thing I wanted to compare. These were the more desirable wheels. So these were 1943-ish, 44-ish. They actually did these split rim wheels. So what's neat about these is all of these stud heads, Ryan, all of this, connect the two. These are 2-piece wheels. So if you're in the field and you blow out a tire with a standard wheel, you got to take a pry bar, get the bead to pop off, try and swap it. This, you can actually split the wheel in 2 pieces, bolt it to another tire, and you're good to go. So that's what's really neat on there. Got obviously your hubs up front. Inner fenders where everything is green on this, which is the cool thing. Like, we should have stripped ours down to a bare frame because everything is green. This is the hardest thing to do, Ryan. We couldn't get this style of fender. MCE Fenders makes one for a JK, but they didn't go up to the JL. So we had to make do, and I'm happy with the Motobuilt fenders. It does look a little bit different, well, quite a bit different from the factory ones, but it still gives us that look of that more narrow, that kind of harder lines on the fender flare. Seeing this shot though, Ryan, looking right through the doors, is pretty cool. We've got a lot more color, obviously, than this one. This is all just olive drab. This is an oil-based paint on here. But yeah, no doors would have been on here. This is no doors at all. You could adjust the windshield, fold it all the way down. This one has a twin stick transfer case, and then obviously is a manual transmission. That's what everyone is judging us on. Go with a manual transmission. This one is a manual. Ours is an automatic, of course, but we just couldn't get it because that was the first one in the country. Really interesting tidbit. This is how safe they were back in the day. That's the fuel tank. right underneath the driver's seat. So probably not the best spot for a fuel tank looking at it back in hindsight. But where the heck else are you going to fit it to be able to get that much clearance? So on the sides here, these are the soft top bows as well. So this will flip up. You can throw a soft top on there. This is one thing we were talking about off camera. Do we add one of these on here? These are like tie downs or a grab handle then. But I think the coolest thing though, looking at it from the back, is like, I guess like maybe how similar we got it, looking at them side by side. Now he had about a license plate up there. I can see there's a fabricated bracket because in PA you do have to have a license plate. We've got our bumperettes, and then we've got a lunette pintle hitch in the center. We didn't go with the bumperettes because we had to mount the tire carrier. Also, I didn't know how close I wanted it to look to stock, but we've got lunettes on the back. We've got these bumperettes, some marker lights in the back, some brake lights, and then as well as some kind of reflectors there too. Original jerry can right next to it. That's how we try to do it with the modern roto packs, is make them right next to it. And honestly, it's crazy seeing how narrow these tires are too. They are 6 inches wide. They're so tiny compared to this. Got a nice shovel in the back, but I don't know, Ryan, how close could we have got it? We got the star on the right spot. We got the star. Same thing on the sides. We got our lower indicators there as well, but just, I think the sheer size of this is kind of what's messing with me. But the one thing that is bigger on this little Jeep is the steering wheel. Look at how much bigger the steering wheel is in there. And that's actually what they tried to do on our steering wheel, is they tried to like match those spokes. That's why if you ever look at the center of your Jeep wheel, you see how there's like 3 little marks around the airbag? That's what those spokes are designed to look like the original right here. But yeah, this would be bigger here because it doesn't have power steering. So the whole point of having a bigger steering wheel is to have more leverage to be able to help turn in tight situations, than also because there is no power steering. How are we going to mount shovels up to the side? Because you've got a lot more, you've got this much body space and we've got that much body space. So we can't really mount a shovel up here. Some people were talking about tube doors, mounting them up onto a half door. Now we've got washout floors. He doesn't have drain holes. Yeah, there is drain holes, yeah. There are drain holes. We've got our Armorlite with drain holes here. That's probably the biggest difference though, is we went with this style of a leather seat, and the original is canvas. But we didn't want to make it completely original. We wanted to give it a little bit of canvas. And if you look at the leather, or that kind of, that material down there at the boots, that's similar to what it would have been in a lot of the leather on these vehicles, but it's very well done. We were talking about doing different gauges and how we would match them. The originals were black and white like that, so I think if we go with anything, that's what we're going to do with. It's kind of neat. There's the choke. This is carbureted, so you pull that in the morning, choke it up a little bit when it's cold outside. That way it can run a little bit better. How hard is it for you to fold this windshield down? Could we fold it down? Yeah, it's a little bit quicker. So they did start changing it on the JLs. They made it a little bit quicker, but look at how much farther forward this windshield goes on. Now what's neat is if you look at this, Ryan, see these blocks right here? They are wood. They're just painted over with olive drab green. We tried to do that with ours. You can see how much further back this hood snout is, because that's where our hood would rest, right there on those wood blocks there. I don't know, it's pretty cool to see this side by side. Kind of just checking out the differences too. We got our grille fully matched. There wasn't much in between there. So I mean, honestly, it would probably look better if we would just remove these hexagons, if we were trying to go for historically accurate, because there's nothing in there. There's no protection for your radiator at all. So there's about 2,000 pounds here. Those JLs, I believe they curb in at about 3,800 to 3,900 pounds. So pretty much double the weight, curtain airbags, everything else on there. But yeah, just a cool side by side to see what we were trying to do. So let's look at what else we got going on the side. Obviously 2.0 in the front, we got the USA. We do have the Normandy, the Invasion Star up top, and he's got just the standard Combat Star, so a little bit different there. Seats and the interior, that's probably where I would say it's like the furthest from the original, unless we like rhino lined this and like hydro dipped the dash and made everything green. That's how we would get it really close. He doesn't have gas. Well, there's the same star. We have gas over our fuel door here. The top, we wanted tan. He has the canvas top. It would be the same matching one as that. And then on the rear too, we've got our taillights. We do have reflectors, but that's what we were trying to go with. We have reflectors on the side here that match up with the olive drab or the 41 color. So that's what I do like about this, is that we tried to get it as close as we could. And then the top, obviously, like I said, it's tan compared to it, but I think the tan looks a heck of a lot better. I don't know, did we nail it on the back end though? Besides the bumperettes, I think it's pretty close. The bumperettes on the lunette, maybe throw some more reflectors on there, or maybe that kind of those original grab handles on either side might look cool, but then how far do you go until it's too far? So this is actually an original Jeep CJ2A engine. The only way you're able to tell is from the front serial number on this. This is still air-cooled. You can see the radiator fan up here, small radiator. He did swap it over all through a full 12-volt system custom. These would have originally been 6-volt. It's kind of hard to find the parts and everything else with those to make them work, but this restoration is pretty serious. You can see all the cloth wire on here running into the original or OEM replica parts. You've got your radiator, your upper coolant hose, air intake. Look at how much smaller the air intake tube is than that. Like, I mean, it's just sheer difference how much smaller. He said on a good day, this thing makes about 65 horsepower, and ours is pushing upwards of almost 300. Got your air filter over there. And he did say off camera that he is having this in, taking it in for service because it is sputtering when it's under load. So something's going on with it, much like ours, except you can keep tinkering with this thing and you could probably make it home. Besides ours, when it pulls a sensor like that, you can't do anything. A lot of people were asking about fabricating this. I don't want to drop the bolt. Yeah, look at that, Ryan. So that would actually flip up. Now this is catching just a little bit. Remember, this is somebody else's Jeep too, so I don't want to mess with it too bad, but this will flip up and it would actually illuminate the engine bay. So that's pretty slick on there. That was the headlights. They had those doing it back in the day. Everything on this was meant to be multi-purpose. So what's neat about that is you were able to flip this up, check out what you needed to under the hood, and then when you're done, just put the washer and wing that right back on it, and you're ready to drive down the road. I think that would take us quite some fabrication, Ryan, to do on our Jeep, but like, it's the little things on that that I think make these old ones so cool. Yeah, look at the liner. This is the hood liner. It's felt compared to rubber gasket. Still a 4-cylinder Hurricane on ours. The intake's on the same side, but up at the front, we've got fuse boxes, batteries. This thing's pushing 300 horsepower, and then a ton of wiring. Just look at how much more complex this is than that underneath the hood. So really not much on ours that's cool to see. That's pretty neat to see how simple it is, and that you could probably diagnose it or fix it on the side of the road versus being dead in the water like ours was. This is actually one neat thing. We have them kind of pulled side by side here or head to head to get some shots at the end. One thing we notice is that the actual clearance underneath the frame and some of the mechanical bits is pretty dang close. I would even argue that there's more clearance on the Willys MB right there compared to our 2025. Even though ours is so much bigger, so much taller, more clearance on that one. Also a side exit exhaust. And then Matt was actually telling me the little rib section on the underside there is actually the emergency brake. Like, it spins and then it has the kind of brake pads inside of it that actually expand and are the emergency brake for that. Really cool to see them like this though, but you can see how much higher our front bumper is even than that one, but they still have. The old one has even more ground clearance, so it was built for a purpose. All right, guys, as we close this one out, we just wanted to thank Matt, especially from Hershey, for bringing out his 1945 Willys MB to let us check out here in person. It's kind of neat to, as we close this build out, just to see them side by side and kind of see what we were going for. We obviously looked at a lot of photos, saw a lot of them in person, but wanted to try and get it as close as we could to this without making it look kind of too cheeseball, right? Like, you can go too far and you can try and flatten the dash out and really go crazy, maybe put leaf springs back under this thing. But as we approach Memorial Day, we thought this was very fitting to show off both of these Jeeps side by side and really commemorate those that have given the ultimate sacrifice, especially those back in World War II. This Jeep next to us is 80 years old. I would venture to say it's older than most people in this country, and yet it is still cruising down the road. And this is a huge shout out to the people that are keeping these Jeeps running. And then also, like us, we're trying to commemorate those individuals that were involved with these Jeeps back when they were new. So it's cool to see them side by side, get some ideas from the original like this. I'm even seeing some shovel ideas, the mirrors, some things like that we can kind of tinker with in the future to really truly get ours to be a little bit closer to this one, but not go overkill and still be able to enjoy the drive. Drop a comment down below on what key features you saw for this that we should try and incorporate onto this one. I know the big one lately has been, you guys should remove the roll cage just like this one, and it's like, that's a lot of work. Curtain airbags, and yeah, I think I'll keep the roll cage in case something happens. But either way, we hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the full build. If you haven't seen the full build, be sure to go back through and you can click on the playlist and watch everything that we did to get this to look as close as we could to this one. But until next time, my name is Matt, Ryan's behind the camera, and we want you to get out there and earn yours.